determinations and some sketches she did that are in there. Okay. So you examined her Maggie to begin with.
Okay.
And I'm going to put this on the Elmo. Can you tell me what this is, please?
That's a standard body diagram for female.
And you reviewed this?
Yes.
Okay. On the Elmo. And could I have the easel? What? Oh, you can? Okay. So this would be the body sketches. Maggie. Could I have no idea. What do you see on your screen?
I see the female body diagram from the autopsy of Maggie Murdaugh.
Okay, so let's, if you could put it in that doorway up there. Sure. Allow the jury to see a little better. Push it back. There you go. Put this on it. Okay, so by way of walk through the wounds on Maggie. Okay?
Okay.
So look at the sketch in front of you and walk the jury through. If you need to come down with a pointer, or can you do it from up there, whatever is more convenient for you.
Writing, so it may be easier for me to point it out. I don't know if this is a touch screen or not.
So we had a pointer. We still have a pointer. She has a pointer. That's okay, we do that. Okay, so what I want you to do is step forward, please. And I'd like you to stand so that those jurors over there see when you stand over there. Okay, so how about walk them? Yeah, okay. Walk them through wounds on Maggie.
The easiest would be bottom up. So we have, these are all rifle wounds, all caused by a rifle. An entrance wound on the left thigh, and the entrance on the left thigh has stippling, which makes it an intermediate range wound.
What is that, intermediate range?
We're talking 1 to 3 feet. The end of the barrel to the actual skin where the bullet goes through.
Okay.
And I agree with what Dr. Reamer put here. That's the medial left thigh. Now we flip the body over, and we have the on the diagram, this is the left side, the corresponding exit wound on the back of the left thigh. So I agree with the range of fire, the directionality, that it's an intermediate range rifle wound.
So you and Dr. Reamer agree?
Yes, we agree on this one.
Okay, next.
Moving up, we can go here to the torso. So we have another entrance rifle wound on the upper right torso. It as per, you can't see the inside in this, but as per the autopsy, it goes through a number of organs, goes across, and comes out the bottom left back of the torso. And I agree with her finding on that as well.
Let me interrupt you 1 second.
Yes, sir.
Prior to your agreement or disagreement, did you look at the autopsy photos?
Oh, absolutely.
Did you look at her report and her notes?
Absolutely.
Anything else you looked at?
I looked at some scene photos, and I believe that was it.
Okay, but you're relying on her photos.
Yes, the most important for me is the autopsy report, the autopsy diagram, and the autopsy photos.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, go to the next one.
Okay, so we've talked about 1 gunshot wound, a rifle wound, 2 rifle wounds. Now we have a rifle wound on the left wrist and forearm. We have an entrance on the back of the left wrist, which is the dorsal surface, and this is the ventral or volar surface. And the exit is on the volar left forearm. I agree with that as well. I'm sorry, I also looked at x-rays. That was
Okay.
part of the photos. On the x-ray, there are some little fragments of, you can tell it's a rifle round in the left wrist.
And it went through?
It went through, yes.
And entrance on which side?
On the back of the left wrist.
Okay, next.
So we've now talked about 3 of them. Now we have 2. I'll start with the first one, which I agree with her findings, and then the second one is where I have, there's a discrepancy. So if we now look at rifle wound E, which is the one that's here on the back of the head,
Yes.
the directionality is correct, and I can explain why I believe the one on the left breast, the directionality was wrong. But we have a almost tangential, meaning that it doesn't go super deep into the brain. It comes here, but a rifle has a lot of kinetic energy and so it has a lot of force to it, and it can cause severe disruption. And it's coming along here, goes through the brain, and when this one goes through the brain, it causes an injury to the brainstem. That would make her die immediately. So this one came here, and then, which is the entrance on the back right of the head.
And that's labeled what?
That's labeled E.
Okay.
And then you can see on the x-ray there's a little fragment or a few little fragments in the head. And so a rifle round will fragment. We call it a lead snowstorm. It sort of on x-ray looks like a snowstorm, a bunch of little white pieces. It breaks up. Pieces of projectile come through down into the back and continue down into the right chest. So this is, now remember we're talking about directionality. This is top, this is bottom. And so on the body it's going downwards, but obviously we have a moving situation. So if she's like this, it may have been coming straight, but on the body the directionality is downwards. And there are some up arrows here on the injuries to the upper back. I don't know why, because in her report they go down. So that's all part of gunshot or rifle wound E. That's actually the lethal rifle wound,
Okay.
immediately lethal. And now I'll focus on A, C, and then the abrasion or the graze wound of the abdomen. And this is where I differ in opinion of directionality.
So you agree with her on everything except this one?
On Maggie, that's correct.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, we look at the autopsy photos. That's going to be extremely important.
We will in a minute.
Okay. So we do have a wound on the left breast. We do have a wound on the left chin, and we have this abrasion under the left breast. And sometimes there are characteristics that we look for to give us directionality of these superficial gunshot or rifle wounds. And what you're looking for when it's a tangential wound is you're looking for skin tags. So
Tell me what a skin tag is.
sure. So if you think about it, if a bullet is coming and it hits the skin, and you can see how it's pushing the skin like tears in the skin. And the tears in the skin are going to be the direction the bullet is coming. But if you let that go, between those two tears is a triangular piece of tissue left, right? So we have a tear over here, we have a tear over here, and then you let it go and you have a skin tag. You have a piece of tissue pointing in the direction that the bullet came from. And so when I look at the picture of the rifle wound to the back of the head, you can see all of those skin tags are pointing up this way, in here. When I look at the left breast and I look at the wound to the left side of the head, or excuse me, the left chin or jaw, I see skin tags pointing this way. So that would make this rifle wound come from here. It would be superficial, but remember we have all of that kinetic energy. So that's why we get the splitting of the skin, the fracture of the chin, then it comes down through the breast, and then it grazes the upper left chest. And it sort of makes sense when you think about it. If a person is leaning forward and you've got one going down this way, you've got another one going essentially in the same exact direction. So there's the scientific aspect by looking at the actual outline or the actual look of the wound. And then you also have two wounds from a rifle that are right next to each other going in the same direction.
And you indicate that both of the directions of both of those, one that goes down this way to the severs the brainstem, and then the other one that goes down and through her breast. I mean, unless somebody were very, very tall, is there an explanation on how those wounds would have come about?
So, I mean, really, we know it's coming from the top of the head down, right? So unless someone is standing in an elevated position, or someone is lying down on their stomach, and then you have a sniper who's on the ground going this way, really, and we see the people who are going to open the door, someone's knocking on the door, a gunshot comes through. If you're leaning, as I was saying earlier, if you're leaning forward, let's say the first shot here gives her significant pain. I agree with Dr. Reamer on that. And she's leaning over like this. And if I have, I don't know, I'm sorry. If I have a gunshot coming like this, I look at it, the body lying flat on the table, you can see how it goes straight down. So the explanation that I think probably most feasible here, she's leaning forward, most likely in pain from the abdominal wound.
And the second shot?
Same thing.
So she's leaning forward, one back here, and where does the second shot come?
The second shot goes right next to the left ear, and on the autopsy photo, you can see a ring of a contusion or a bruise, and it looks very, very similar to the ring that was found there. And again, that's energy. The bullet comes down, goes through the chest.
So the shot blew her earlobe off, or blew?
Pretty much, yes.
Rings at the scene.
Correct.
Okay, so let's talk to the photos, and if you'll stay right where you are, and then I'm going to add something up there I haven't quite decided yet. Could I have Defendant's Exhibit 169, please? I find everyone for this. Not your fault. Right, and again, I apologize for the graphic nature, but it's what you do every day, right? Okay, so tell us what this depicts.
So this depicts Maggie's body on the autopsy, and doing measurements on a body. That's how we're looking at the body, lying on her back or on the person's back on the autopsy. And we're looking at the left side. Here is that wound with the left ear and the left chin, and here's her left breast. And then right above this wound here, we have that semicircle, which is consistent with the earring.
So this is the shot you would disagree with Dr. Reamer about?
Yes, this is the only shot I disagree with.
And her explanation of this was what? I mean, what was it was going up?
Yeah, she stated that it was going upwards.
It would have entered the breast and then gone up?
Right.
And the reason you disagree with that is?
Well, number one, there's skin tags. When we look closer at the breast, when we look closer at the left chin, skin tags are pointing upwards, showing that that's where it came from. And the other is, there's also a part of our job where just sort of common sense, and it just seems very odd that when you have one going this way, you have to be in a very bizarre position to be able to get it to go up. But from the scientific standpoint, it's how the wound looks.
And you believe those wounds are caused by bullets fired in succession?
I was surprised.
Okay. Could we go to, sorry. What does this depict?
So this is the left side of her jaw, and it's pulled forward, but you can see up here, I'll use my finger. You see the skin tag is pointing this way, right? The laceration is coming down here, and if I were to flip this back up, these skin tags point up as well.
Point out a skin tag again.
This is a great example of a skin tag that is like this.
Could you pull that up a little bit for me, please? Right below. Yeah, right in the purple. Okay, skin tag.
If you were to see it is sort of in a triangular shape, and if I flipped it back up, it would fit right into here.
Right.
And so the skin tag is upwards in the directionality of where the bullet comes. It'll be easier to see best, actually.
Okay. So could we go to Dr.
Yes.
That would be Exhibit 161. Tell me, does that help?
Yes, I think before we blow it up, what's important is for oration purposes, you can see that her head is up here. So this would be up, this would be down.
Okay.
Now if we need to blow that up, you can see the skin tags are pointing up. The lacerations, the splitting in the skin, is pointing down. So that indicates an up to down directionality.
Okay. And could we see State's Exhibit 490? Tell me what this depicts.
This is a beautiful depiction. I don't mean to use that word. I'm sorry.
Beautiful is not.
I didn't mean that. That's from a forensic pathologist. It's a classic book example of the lacerations coming and pointing downwards. The skin tags are pointing upwards. So skin tag, skin tag, skin tag, all pointing up where the bullet's coming from. The lacerations are pointing down, which is the direction the bullet's going in.
Now, did you and Dr. Reamer agree or disagree on this?
We agree on this.
Okay. Now, the other thing is, her head was shaved. Why is that?
Right. So any gunshot wound to the head, if you're trying to make a determination of entrance or exit, or trying to get a better idea of what it looks like, you also want to look for if there's any gunshot residue. You shave that area. So most of the time it's to look at the actual outline of it. Sometimes it's to preserve evidence for further testing.
Okay. Could I have 168, please? And what is this an X-ray of?
So this is an X-ray of her head and neck, and it might be hard to see, but we have right here in the center, we have a fragment of possibly jacketing, but a fragment of a projectile right here in the midline with a few smaller pieces. We have nothing over on the left side where this injury is. So nothing went in here and stayed. All of the projectiles, and then we'll continue down to the chest. It's one rifle that went, and then you'll see that lead snowstorm, which is consistent with it going back in to the back and down to the chest.
Okay, and could you go to 169, please?
So you can hear how it continues down into the right chest, and it sort of looks like a snowstorm. That's a rifle round.
Okay. Thank you. And take the stand, please. Your job is to look at the photos and determine whether or not the original pathologist was correct or incorrect. That's what we hired you to do.
Well, really, what you look at the autopsy report, look at the photos, and give my opinion on the gunshot wounds. That was it. I wasn't asked to say, I wasn't even asked right or wrong. You just asked me to look at them and give you my opinion.
And how many bullets holes do we hear? How many shots?
Well, we have 5 shots.
And of the 5, you agree with her on 4?
Yes, sir.
And disagree with her? Okay. So let's move on a moment, and let's look at, we'll go to Paul's autopsy report, and we'll go to his sketch. Let me get this material away. Okay, let me put this jumbled up. So let's have you step down with your pointer, please. It's right here. Your Honor, make the approach. Thank you. So how about detail what she indicates are the wounds to Paul? And we'll step at the bottom and go up. Okay.
So there's 2 shotgun wounds to Paul. One is on the chest and one is on the head.
Okay, let's talk about the chest wound first.
Sure. So the chest wound is also an intermediate range, so 1 to 3 feet. Shotgun wound that goes across the chest, does not enter into the chest cavity. It leaves near the armpit, and then the pellets themselves disperse, and some of them go through the arm. I agree with her on that, both on the range of fire and the directionality.
Okay. So the other shot resulted in his exploding?
Correct.
Okay. Explain to the jury what she said and then what you believe, and we'll talk about why the difference is in just a minute.
Sure.
Okay?
So in her autopsy report, she stated that she believed the entrance was coming from the left side, went up, and then it exited the top of the head. To me, this is a contact range shotgun wound to the top of the head that caused extreme pressure buildup in the head from it being contact, leading to these types of fractures, and that the pellets, so the shotgun wound comes in, the wadding will start to open up. All of that pressure, basically, for lack of a term, will explode what's there because the pressure needs to get out somehow. And then the head would have been down like this, and the pellets lodged here and went into the left shoulder, and pellets are going down into the tissues of the left shoulder.
So you believe the wound that resulted in his head exploding was where? Where would the shotgun have been?
Well, it would have been to the top back of his head.
And how far away from the head?
Oh, no, it would have been pressed against the head.
So it would be a contact wound to the back of the head.
Correct.
And that would result in and we're going to talk about this in a little more detail in a minute. But in the head, tell me how we have a hole here and then a wound here. How does that work?
Well, you're shooting. It's different than shooting into a space where it can expand. It's not up against a firm surface. So shooting into the abdomen is different. The pressure will still go in if it's contact with the abdomen, but the abdomen can stretch. The pressure and the gas can disperse. It's sort of an open space with that can stretch out and back. The skull really only has one hole at the bottom. So if I were to take a gun and press it against a pile of paper here, and I were to shoot it, this paper would blow up because the pressure has nowhere to go, so it's got to blow everything up that's right there. If I were to take a shotgun and shoot it from here, the pressure is open. It's open to the atmosphere, right? So it's going to come out of the barrel, it's going to spread out. It'll go a little distance, and that's why we get soot in range shotgun wounds. It'll go a little distance, but then it'll disperse. So if I were here and I were to shoot down at this paper, the paper is going to get a whole bunch of holes in it, but it's not going to completely explode.
And this is birdshot, correct?
In the head, it's birdshot.
In the chest, it was?
Here's that it was buckshot.
Okay. Now, so her opinion was, and tell me the path.
So unfortunately, the top wasn't shaved, so I can't tell you the exact entrance, but it absolutely is a contact range shot. And from what was described by Dr. Reamer, what she described as the exit wound was that it was near the top of the head and a little bit back on the right. So probably right about here.
Let me talk a bit. Take the witness stand again, please. Defense exhibit 16. So, this is in essence, where did this exhibit come from?
Yes, this is from the main on gunshot.
The Bible gunshot wounds, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
That's Reamer book indeed, right?
Yes, sir.
And this sketch, these pictures are from that book.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So this depicts a shotgun shell being fired, correct?
Yes, sir.
And tell the jury, please, the initial firing, correct?
Top image, correct.
What is coming out?
What's coming out of flames, and sometimes you'll see a little bit of burning because the gunpowder is ignited, so you have a little bit of flame and then gas.
Now, if they had shaved Paul's head, which they did not, correct?
Correct.
Would they have seen some evidence of that gas and flame coming out?
I would say most likely yes. You don't always see it, but yeah, most likely there will be some soot or what we call searing, burn.
Okay. The next one down, what is that showing us?
So now what we're seeing is at the front, you can see all the sort of because the itself hasn't opened up yet. So the pellets are all, you have a plastic tube, and then the pellets are all at the top, and then there's a piece of wadding, so like a plastic disc or something, and then underneath it you have the gunpowder. The gunpowder gets ignited, the heat builds up the pressure, it pushes out the plastic tube through the barrel of the weapon, and that's when that first image you see that. The second image, you see that we still have all of the shot, or the pellets are still within the plastic tube. So that's going to go for a little distance. Behind it, we see the cloud of gas. We see the pressure from the cloud of gas. This is very early on. Right, so now we're a little bit further, a little bit later after the are in sort of a form, and you see that the cloud of gas is getting bigger. Right? The reason it's getting bigger here is because it's going to go there by the least resistance. So it's going out into the atmosphere. This is not pressed against anything. This is just if I were shooting the air, gas is coming out.
And the last one, D.
A little further on, now are starting to separate, and we see this big gas. So the pressure is dissipating outwards into the atmosphere.
And if we cut the shot 3 feet down or 4 feet down, what would be happening with pellets?
So now you're starting to get individual pellets. The pellets would be opening up, so they wouldn't still be in the cylinder. If we're talking 3, 4 feet or further, so on the skin, we would see a little outline of individual holes from individual pellets. It's not like they all have separated yet, but we would see some.
10 feet, would they be separated?
Oh, yes.
Okay, and so you see a pattern of shot.
Correct.
Individual pellets.
Correct.
Okay. So let's follow this back. If let's go with scenario first.
Okay.
And the testimony, I think, has been 3 feet. The muzzle of the shotgun was 3 feet from, and let me maybe put one of these in. Let's see which one of these is what we want. Okay, let me have States Exhibit 478, please. Now, the wound in the center of his chest, you and she agree on directionality. It came out under his arm, pellets penetrated his arm, and then went on, I think we've heard, out the back window.
Right. So directionality, and I agree with her on that one.
Okay. So when you look at the wound in his shoulder, neck, and of course his head, tell us where Dr. Reamer got it wrong.
Well, I think she has it reversed. And the reason being is, now that you've seen where all the pressure goes, if the entrance wound is here on the left shoulder, and we're saying that we're at least 3 to 4 feet away from there because we have no soot, we have no stippling on the skin, then by the time it gets to the left side of the chin or over here at the angle of the mandible, the jaw, we've lost a lot of energy. And so, yes, some pellets still going up to the head, but you're not going to have the top of the head completely blown off. And if you look at the photograph here, you can see, for us, it curves over and goes around the bars there. If you look here, it goes flat. He's missing the top of his skull. That would not happen from a 3 to 4 foot, 3 feet or further shotgun wound coming in on the left side.
And the wound on his shoulder, let's look at that real quick. Shoulder, please. That's a pretty big wound, is it not?
It is, and there's pellets that are going down into the tissue.
And what is the evidence of that?
Well, there's photographs that are taken looking down into the wound, and you can see pellets there, and x-rays that are taken that you can see there's pellets down into the left shoulder.
Okay, if you go to Defendant's Exhibit 162. Okay, step down here, please.
Yes, sir. May I?
Your Honor, may you step down? Thank you. You stand over there with the pointer. Show the jury, please, the individual pellets.
Oh, well, this is probably the easiest one to see. Round and silver. I'm going to have to come around for a moment. I'm sorry. There's one here. There's one here. It's not projecting well, but I know that I saw a few down here, but then on x-ray, it'll become more apparent.
Okay, well, let me do this. Let's go ahead and put the x-ray up while we're talking about this, which would be which one of these you want to start on?
We can do this
Okay.
one since we're talking about.
Hold on 1 second. Any objection? Your Honor, I would offer into evidence Defense Exhibit 112 and ask it be put under seal.
No objection.
Submitted.
All right. Tell us what exhibit you got. Do you have that? 112?
This is a tornado warning in effect across central DuPage County. It appears that radar has picked up on some circulation across central DuPage County, and we're specifically talking around the Warrenville area, and that's right there. You can see it's a very small little nugget with that tornado warning, and it looks like another one is just being issued as well. Let me take a peek at this. I'm going to throw some glasses on. The tornado warning for DuPage crossing I-88 Naperville to Warrenville. It is a very quick spin-up tornado that was detected over the past couple of minutes. So we're watching these tornadoes just kind of blossom and spin up, a couple of around Champaign. But when the tornado warning, bona fide tornado warning around Warrenville area in DuPage, you see it right there where I'm pointing to where those reds are. So Naperville, and then you get up toward the Warrenville area right now, and that's where we are seeing this tornado warning. As of right now, it is in effect until 15. So we do have, let's see, even some low-topped thunderstorms that are producing some signatures right along that I-57 corridor too. So I'm going to see if I can get that up here for you today. This is a tornado warning. You want to go to the lowest level. In fact, let's do that. What you need to do, you need to seek shelter when a tornado is spotted or radar indicated. And I'm checking to see the Weather Service says the thunderstorm out around Warren or over Naperville is capable of producing this warning. So what you need to do is get to the lowest level of the room you are in to seek shelter immediately. This is for central DuPage County. At this very moment, you want to move to the lowest level of a sturdy building, certainly, and be sure to avoid windows. There is no point on running around opening windows. That is a long-standing myth. Believe me, you don't want to run around doing that. So let's go through a few more items here as we are talking about that tornado warning in central DuPage County. We've had a lot of rain this morning, 3/4 of an inch of rain, over an inch of rain. Also, I want to make mention about this wind advisory that's in effect until noon for counties south and across southern Cook County too. We're getting reports of wind gusts 50 to 55 miles per hour. Will County down through Kankakee, also over in northwest Indiana. The warning that I've been monitoring has been around Champaign. So if you know anyone down that way around Rand, I'm watching because I've been concerned that it could possibly even move up in portions of northwest Indiana, and they have been in the Weather Service office too to keep an eye on if it does bring some rotation into Jasper and Newton counties. But the one that we are immediately concerned with right now is across central DuPage County. Let's see if that has been canceled just yet, and it does not appear as though it has been, and you'll have to pardon me from jumping back and forth quite a bit here this morning, but keep a close eye on this tornado warning in central DuPage County. Let's see if we can go a little closer for you and you can get your bearings as to where that is. Well, it is, this is going to be in effect until 10:15 this morning. So once again, most of what we've been seeing here with this instability this morning has been something that almost like a rope, a very narrow tornado. These are brief spin-ups that we have been watching as the instability that's coming in with this system has been actually kind of marginal at best, but in that environment, you do get these little spin-ups, and I'm just watching the Weather Service to keep monitoring whether or not they issue anything else in addition to that tornado warning. So let's go back and let's put the radar on top of this, and I'll show you what is going on out there, because it's this, it appears as though the storm is showing some signs of weakening. To Warrenville area, that's where we have been monitoring this tornado warning, and it is in effect until 10:15 at this moment. Once again, central DuPage County. We look at the Storm Prediction Center, and they didn't even have that area included in a marginal risk for severe weather. This is going to be a fairly isolated incident at best. We'll go back to the tornado warning here and the radar. Idea of what is settling in out there. No storm tracks to put on that particular item. And in fact, let's see if this is moving to the north and east. We're going to go with that and see where this is going to head next. And all right, so areas that could potentially get these strong storms, if you're in Downers Grove, if you're in Lombard, if you're in Elmhurst, these are all areas that are going to be in the path of this line that did prompt a tornado warning in central DuPage County. As of right now, it is still in effect as this moving to the east and northeast. Continuing to, I just want to keep going back because I'm showing signs that this storm is appearing to weaken, but as you can see, we still have that tornado warning that is in effect, and it's moving almost to the north and east. So let's put another track system and see where that is going to take us